The question is it possible that you're having an emotional addiction, you're aware of it, but, for example, my response, which is usually anger or frustration, I'm knowing it's my reaction, I'm owning it, but I can't seem to get a sense or an understanding of what's causing it.
Sorry.
So then, what do we do with that?
What do we do with the
fact?
fact?
Is that possible, that you can actually be aware that there's something going on?
Of course. Remember, what I said, the basic form of awareness is if I am angry, frustrated, annoyed, feel hurt about something else that someone else is doing or something that's happened, then I am in my addiction is not being met. So the first level of consciousness, if you could say, about addictions is to notice when the behaviour you have is when your addiction isn't being met.
Yep.
And we'll talk more about how to get down deeper, but that's the first level of consciousness about your addictions. In that space, you know whatever it is that is driving you is out of harmony with love. You know that because you're angry, you're upset, or you're hurt, and all of those things are not love. Like if you're in a love space, you feel blissful, happy, joyful, and all those emotions, not the other emotions. So instead of condemning ourselves for our state, what we need to do is notice, firstly, I'm angry, I have an addiction. Who knows what it is? I don't know what it is at this point, maybe, right? But at least I know I have one. That's the first step with all of this, like to know that you have one. So one of the first things you can do, and we'll talk more about what you can do, one of the first things you can do is start writing down everything that makes you angry. Because everything that makes you angry covers over an addiction somewhere inside of you. Everything that makes you feel frustrated, right? And that covers over an addiction somewhere. We don't have to know the addiction yet. The point is becoming consciously aware inside of ourselves that, yes, my anger, my hurt emotions, my frustration, my annoyance and all those emotions, they obviously are covering over a demand that I have inside of me. Something's going on here. And you'll be surprised a lot of times it's big emotions, but we'll talk more about that in a minute, about how to get deeper. The main thing is understand the first point of awareness is your initial rage, anger or hurt response. That's the first point of knowing that something's wrong. Yeah? And once you're at that point, you know another addiction here. And to be frank with you, I've had thousands of them to work my way through. So the majority of persons on the planet have a good 1,000 or 2 of these addictions, right, to work their way through. That didn't make you feel very good. There's another one of those addictions, see? Did you feel that addiction? Did you feel that addiction? I'm serious. Did you feel that addiction that you just had? When I made that statement of truth, did you feel the level of joy? Like down like that? There's the addiction. Can you see the feeling of, oh no, what's that? Frustration? Oh no. There's the addiction. What was that addiction? The addiction that I cheer you up. That's the addiction. You want me to say things that are not true so you feel good about yourself. That's an addiction. Does that make sense? Even that one statement that we have often 1,000 or 2 addictions to deal with causes us to actually get into one of our addictions.
Just along that line, question is, okay, we have thousands of these addictions to get through and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
My question is this lifetime like to get through the addictions? Because I'm kind of thinking if everybody's got all these addictions and you get through your addictions, how do you exist with the rest of the planet?
Well,
or everyone on it?
Well, the beauty is how you exist with the rest of the planet is very easily. Because you don't respond to anybody's addictions anymore, and you've got no addictions coming out of you that they have to respond to. So everyone around you actually feels better in your company. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And the people who don't feel better are the ones who wanted you to supply their addiction, and they leave you because they want to find a person who will supply their addiction. So your life actually becomes very simple. You don't believe that, but it does. Like, it does become very simple. You'd be surprised how simple it becomes. We'll talk more about this aspect of how simple your life becomes when you deal with these things, because Because while I say there are thousands of addictions that the average person has, the truth is that there are usually only 30 or 40 core emotions that drive them. Does that make sense? See, did you feel that again? I said 30 or 40 core emotions, and what? I've got 30. There's the addiction again, see? Can you see the addiction at play? The addiction, oh no. Now, when you think about it, the majority of you come along here not because I sweet talk you, right? And that's a beautiful thing, actually, because that tells you that you are not wanting to have your addictions met all the time now. You want to start dealing with the real stuff. You see, just the fact that you're attracted to come to a place where a guy gets up and tells you a truth that you don't want to hear, but you feel drawn to come back next week, means that there's something that appeals to you in the soul about living in this space. Does that make sense? So that there's obviously some truth going on in there, having its positive effect in amongst all of that. But the truth really is that we often have 40 or 50 core emotions driving the majority of our addictions, and we might have thousands of addictions as a result of those core emotions. And every core emotion has its unique flavours based upon our life and how it was created. And we'll talk about how that all happens in a minute. So the answer to the question is, firstly, notice every time you have that deflated feeling that you just had when I said the truth. Every time you notice that deflation, every time you notice that the joy can't be maintained, every time you notice there's anger, frustration, annoyance, any of those hurt-based emotions, I know an addiction is not being met. And if I have courage, if I follow this addiction down the rabbit hole, I will actually pick out the causal emotion. I'll get there with it if I have the courage to actually acknowledge the addiction exists. Does that make sense?
And the beginning would be writing it down.
The beginning is always becoming consciously aware that this is happening through your emotions. So your emotion is anger, frustration, annoyance, deflation, all of those type of emotions. There's an addiction not being met. Oh, straight away, addiction, I've got to write down the circumstances in which this happened. Oh, today the circumstance that it happened was that AJ told me a truth that made me feel like, I've got a lot of work to do. That truth, I would have liked him to tell me that actually in 10 minutes' time all of you are going to become at one with God. That sounds really good, doesn't it? Woo, that's really cool. But it's not true, right? So that's the problem with that kind of thing, is that, and this is the trouble of what we've done, you see, is we're so used to hearing like sweet platitudes because of our addictions. We want to actually get somebody cheering us up because we want to avoid the emotion of how we really feel, which is, well, I don't feel that happy about myself, really, and I need someone to cheer me up in order to make myself feel happy about myself. Does that make sense? And so what I'm doing is avoiding of how unhappy I feel about myself, really, in that moment. If I can allow myself to go, okay, right at that moment, yes, AJ said that, and to be frank with you, it doesn't even matter whether I lied to you or not. Right? Now don't go and quote that out of context. Because what I'm saying is, although I want to tell you the truth, even if you're lied to by somebody and it makes your energy goes down, there's addiction. There's an addiction in play inside of you. Do you understand? All you need to do, you don't even need to worry about what the external environment is really doing to handle these things. All you need to do is feel your own emotional response to what the external environment is doing. That's all you need to do, and you know straight away whether there's an addiction in play or not. You don't even have to have somebody come along and tell you anymore. All you do is feel your own emotion. Oh yeah, like he yelled and screamed at me and I felt terrible. Wow, what's the addiction? Because do you think when you're at one with God and somebody yells and screams at you, you're going to feel terrible?